Hey guys, welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the top 4 questions that you can ask any veteran that will actually lead to a conversation. Because let's face it, if you're a civilian and you have limited experience with military members in your friends or family circle, then you probably get stuck with not knowing the right question to ask, right? I mean, we all want to say thank you for your service, and as a veteran, we appreciate that. Let's face it, the Vietnam vets did not get the same reception, so we appreciate that. But most people fall into the trap of asking, what branch did you serve in? How long did you serve? And both of those, for different reasons that we'll get into, are usually dead-end questions. Before we do that though, if you wait till the end of this video, I'm going to share with you a bonus tip, which is by far the best communication tip I can give that will allow you to talk to anyone, whether you have something in common or it's a complete stranger. So stick around to the end for that. Okay, let's be honest. We all know the 2 questions that come right after thank you for your service 99% of the time. And they are, what branch were you in? And how long did you serve? And both of these are dead-end questions for their own reasons. Let's start with, what branch were you in? Maybe a little bit later, I'll do a video about the turf war between the different branches, between jarheads, grunts, squids, the chair force. But we'll leave that for another video. Besides, if you ask a veteran, what branch were you in? And they say, I was a Marine. What comes after that? Oh, my girlfriend's brother is a Marine. Do you then expect them to say, really? What's his name? I might know him. It's almost like when I tell people I lived in Australia for 8 years and they say, oh, do you know Davy Smith? No, I don't. Conversation killer. The other one is, how long did you serve? Look, no one wants to feel judged based on the time they spent in the military. They might have been medically discharged and forced out early. They might have only wanted to do 4 years or 8 years. Or they may have retired and just don't want to talk about it. How long were you in doesn't really lead the conversation anywhere. So now you're probably asking, well, what can we replace those 2 questions with? And I'm glad you asked. That brings us to question number 1, which is short and sweet and gets the conversation going. And that is simply, how long have you been out? So if you talk to a veteran, you thank them for your service, and then you may just say, how long have you been out? Now, this is up to the veteran as far as what they want to give you information-wise. This may lead into what they did in the service, what they're doing now, the fact they've been out 20 years, or maybe just out a year. This is an easy conversation starter to get you kicked off. The second question is just as short and simple, and it's simply, do you miss it? Now, they may give you a short response of yes or no, and that is why we're giving you sub-questions. Now, the important thing about the sub-questions is to keep them positive, and it's simply, what do you miss the most about being in the military? Or, what do you love the best about being a civilian? You want to make sure not to ask the opposite about, what do you dislike about being a civilian, or what did you not like about being in the military, because they will bring up an entirely different conversation that you probably don't have time for. Our next question deals with community. As a veteran and someone who's experienced this, and as a public speaker who works with veterans on the transition home, I can tell you firsthand that one of the biggest challenges that face all veterans is replacing the community that we lose from the military. You see, when we're in the military, that brotherhood, that bond that we have as a unit, that is something that we haven't experienced in life prior. And so when we're discharged, most of the time we lose that. So simply asking a veteran, have you been able to find a new community since you've gotten out of the service, is a question that can lead down many, many paths. And you might find yourself in a conversation about new sports they're doing, new hobbies they found, maybe nonprofit work that they've found themselves doing, or church groups. This conversation alone can lead down a path that may even allow you to help the veteran or connect them to friends within your community that may be able to help them if that's what they're looking for. And the final question has to do with jobs. Look, it doesn't help you much as a civilian if you ask somebody what they did in the military, because let's face it, they're going to explain it to you in military terms. And it doesn't really give you much information if I say as a ganger subs or machinist mate. The conversation just dies yet again. So instead, try asking somebody if their military skills transferred into the job they're currently doing. Now, this question is open-ended on both ends, and it's up to the veteran to take it one of two ways. They may feel comfortable telling you what they did in the service, or they may tell you what they're currently doing and how their skills related. But either way, it allows us to get into a much deeper conversation. And after all, that's the goal. Congratulations for making it to the end of the video. Here's your bonus, a puppy. Because who doesn't love a puppy? Let's get to the real bonus that I promised, and that is the #1 communication tip that has allowed me to talk to anyone, whether it be a complete stranger or maybe an acquaintance that I just don't have much in common with. This technique is called funneling. It's something that I learned many years ago, and the idea is simple. It is basically taking a question that you ask somebody, you take their response from that question, and you allow that to form your next question. So an example might be if somebody's walking their dog in my neighborhood and they say hi and I say hi, I might ask them, are you new to the neighborhood or have you lived here for a while? And their response depends on my next question or determines my next question. Because if they say, oh, I've been here 16 years or I've been here 6 months, if my next question is, what do you do for work? That just seems very choppy and it's not a true conversation. So in this example, if they say, oh, I've been here 6 months, then I might ask them, did you move for work? And then that could lead into, well, what do you do? Or I could take the conversation a different way and they say, I just moved here 6 months ago. And I might say, where did you move from? If they say Ohio, I might be able to open up that conversation and say, oh, that's where I was born and raised. You see, funneling allows you to do two things. The first is it allows you to remember the conversation better because you are taking part of their answer and incorporating it into your question. The second thing that allows you to do is funnel the conversation into a direction until you find common ground. So you may have to get through 3 or 4 questions before you find common ground with that person. And then the conversation will just open up. We have all been to those parties or those outings or those one-on-one conversations where you have a conversation and their answer makes things just die off. Funneling will allow you to break through that wall that you hit and keep the conversation going. So implement that today. Leave a comment in the comments below and let me know how it works for you. And until then, please go out. Don't be afraid to talk to veterans. You now have the skills to have a full-fledged conversation without asking them the 2 questions that are just basically boring. Go out, get to know your veterans within the community, and we'll see you next time.